England, 12th century. A small village called Woolpit was a normal day for the farmers. The sun was shining, the fields were golden, and the work was hard, like always. But that day, something strange happened. Something nobody could explain. Two children, one boy, one girl, appeared near the fields. They looked scared, confused, and they were green. Yes, their skin was green, like a plant. Their clothes were strange, too. The fabric was soft and colorful, but not like anything the villagers had seen before. And when the farmers spoke to them, the children didn't understand. They spoke a language nobody recognized. So, what do you do when two green children show up in your village? Call the police? Well, in the 12th century, there were no police. Instead, the farmers took them to the local lord, Sir Richard de Con. He was a rich man, and maybe he knew what to do. At first, the children refused to eat. The villagers gave them bread, meat, and fruit, but the children just shook their heads. They were hungry, but they wouldn't eat anything. Days passed. People worried. Would they starve? Then, finally, they found something the children would eat. Raw beans. They ate them like crazy. Only beans. Nothing else. Now, here's where things get really weird. After some time, the children started learning English. And when they could finally talk, they told a story that shocked everyone. Where did they come from? Why was their skin green? And why were they so scared? Well, if you believe their story, they came from a place that shouldn't exist. After months of living in, the green children learned enough English to finally explain where they came from. And let me tell you, what they said made the villagers very uncomfortable. The girl, who seemed to be older than the boy, did most of the talking. She told Sir Richard and the villagers that they were from a place called the Land of St. Martin. Now, here's the weird part. According to the girl, their home was not like Woolpit. In fact, it was not like anywhere on earth. She described a land where the sun never shined brightly, where everything was covered in a soft, greenish twilight. It was always dusk, never night, never day. A strange, glowing light filled the sky, but there was no real sun. And here's where things get even weirder. The girl said that in her land, everyone had green skin, just like her and her brother. And they all lived underground, in tunnels and caves, never coming up to the surface. There was no bright light, no blue sky, no golden sun, just an endless, eerie glow. At this point, the villagers didn't know what to think. Were these children telling the truth? Were they confused? Or were they something else? Sir Richard asked. Then how did you get here? How did you end up in Woolpit? The girl took a deep breath. Her face grew dark, as if she was remembering something terrible. She said that one day, she and her brother were following their family's cows when they heard a strange sound, like bells, but not from a church. The sound was soft and hypnotic, pulling them forward. They followed it deeper and deeper into a cave. Then, suddenly, they saw a bright light. A hole in the ground, maybe? A portal? Before they knew it, they were here, standing in a bright, blinding world where everything looked wrong. The sky was too blue. The air was too hot. And the light was everywhere. She said she and her brother tried to go back, but the hole was gone. The entrance had disappeared. They were trapped in this strange world. But this was just the beginning of the mystery, because soon something would change. Something that would bring even more questions and even fewer answers. The villagers of Woolpit listened to the girl's story in shock. A land with no sun? A world underground? It sounded impossible. But then again, so did green-skinned children appearing out of nowhere. Over time, something strange started happening. The children, especially the girl, began to change. It started with their skin. At first, their skin was deep green, like fresh leaves in spring. But slowly, the color faded. Day by day, their skin grew lighter, turning pale like the other villagers. Nobody knew, was it the food, the sunlight, the air? Whatever it was, the green was disappearing. But not everything was getting better. The boy, the younger of the two, became sick. He had never been strong, and life in this new world was hard on him. He didn't speak much, and he often looked sad, like he was always thinking about home. No matter how much the villagers tried to help, he grew weaker and weaker. And then he died. The girl was heartbroken. Her brother had been the only connection to her old life, the only person who understood where they came from. Now she was alone, but she was also stronger. Unlike her brother, she adjusted. She ate more food, she worked with the villagers, and as time passed, she started to act like one of them. Her green skin was gone. Her strange ways were fading. She was becoming normal, or at least that's what people thought. But deep down, she still remembered where she came from. She still remembered the land of St. Martin. And even though she never saw it again, she never stopped wondering, was it real or was it just a dream? For the villagers, the mystery of the Green Children would never be solved. But for the girl, one question remained. If she could find her way here, could someone else find their way too? After her brother's death, the green girl had no choice but to adapt. She stayed among the villagers. She worked, ate, and dressed like them. Over time, her accent faded, and her strange habits disappeared. To most people, she was no longer a mystery. She was just another girl. But not everyone trusted her. Some villagers still whispered when she passed. They remembered how she had arrived, scared, confused, and green. They wondered, was she really human, or was she something else? But Sir Richard de Conn had a different view. He believed the girl was special, not dangerous. He gave her a home and a proper education. And soon, she grew into a smart, confident young woman. And here's where the story takes another strange turn. As she got older, the girl became more difficult. She had a sharp tongue and wasn't afraid to argue. Some said she was too clever for her own good. Others thought she was just different, like she still didn't fully belong in this world. Eventually, she left Woolpit and moved to a bigger town. Some say she even got married. But no matter how normal her life seemed, one mystery remained. She never changed her story. Until the day she died, she insisted that she had come from a land of eternal twilight, a place underground where everything was green, a world that nobody else could find. So what really happened? Were the Green Children from another country, another world, or was this just a strange medieval folktale? Well, here's where things get even weirder. Because even though this story happened hundreds of years ago, similar stories have appeared in other places around the world. Coincidence? Or proof of something bigger? The story of the Green Children of Woolpit is strange enough on its own. But what if I told you it's not the only one? That's right. This wasn't just some random medieval folktale. Over the centuries, there have been other stories of mysterious people appearing out of nowhere, speaking unknown languages, and sometimes having green skin. Let's start with Spain, 1887. A man and a woman were found wandering near a village in Banjos, Spain. Their skin had a slight greenish tint, and just like the Woolpit children, they spoke a language nobody understood. When they finally learned Spanish, they claimed to be from a place called Lusser, a land that didn't exist on any map. Sounds familiar, right? Then there's the case of the underground man in America. In the 19th century, a railroad worker in Pennsylvania claimed to have found a strange man inside a tunnel they were digging. The man's skin was pale green, and when they tried to speak to him, he panicked and ran, disappearing into the darkness of the tunnel. The workers searched, but he was never seen again. Coincidence? Or was there something else going on? Some historians believe the Woolpit children were just sick, maybe suffering from a disease like chlorosis, which can give the skin a greenish tint. Others think they were refugees, maybe from a hidden village where people lived differently. But what if they were telling the truth? What if the land of St. Martin was real? And if they could find their way into our world, could we ever find our way into theirs? By now, you might be wondering, what really happened to the Green Children of Woolpit? Well, historians, scientists, and conspiracy theorists all have their own ideas. Some sound logical. Others, not so much. Let's go through the most popular theories. Theory 1, a medical mystery. One of the most boring, scientific, explanations is that the children had a disease. Some experts believe they suffered from chlorosis, a condition that can make the skin turn green due to iron deficiency. In medieval times, poor nutrition was common, and the children might have come from a place where food was scarce. But here's the problem. It was just a disease. Why did they have a completely unknown language? And why did they tell such a wild story? Theory 2, refugees from a hidden world. Another idea is that the children were survivors of a lost or hidden community. Some historians suggest they may have been orphans who wandered away from a remote village, maybe a secret colony of Flemish immigrants who spoke a different dialect. They might have been hiding from war, living underground or in dense forests, away from the rest of society. But again, would that explain the green skin? And why did they describe their home as a land of twilight with no sun? Theory 3, time travelers? Okay, now we're getting into the fun stuff. Some researchers have suggested that the children weren't from Earth at all, at least not our version of it. What if they had come from the past or the future? Think about it. They appeared suddenly. They spoke an unknown language. They described a world completely different from ours. Maybe they weren't aliens, but humans from another time, either long before civilization or long after, when the sun had dimmed and people had evolved to live in darkness. Too crazy? Well, not crazier than what they claimed. Theory 4, visitors from another dimension. Here's where things get really weird. Some believe the Green Children weren't just lost, but from another reality altogether. If you've ever heard of the multiverse theory, you know the idea. There are infinite versions of our world, some almost identical, some completely different. If the children had traveled through a portal, it could explain why they thought Woolpit was strange, and why they could never find their way back. And remember that strange sound they heard before they arrived? What if it was some kind of dimensional shift? A tear between worlds? Too wild to believe? Maybe. But the truth is, nobody really knows what happened. And we may never know. All right, we've gone through the theories. Some logical, some really out there. But let's stop for a moment and ask a simple question. What if the Green Children were telling the truth? What if the land of St. Martin was a real place? Now, I know what you're thinking. If this place exists, why hasn't anyone else found it? Well, here's something to consider. There are hundreds of stories, from different cultures, different times, about people vanishing, only to reappear somewhere completely unfamiliar. Some describe lost cities. Others talk about hidden underground civilizations. And then there are the stories of the Hollow Earth. The Hollow Earth theory. Some researchers believe that deep beneath our feet, there's a whole other world, an underground civilization that has remained hidden for thousands of years. According to legends from Tibet, South America, and even Europe, this secret world is full of strange beings, lost technology, and sometimes people who accidentally wander in or out. Sounds crazy, right? But here's where it gets interesting. Some versions of the Hollow Earth theory describe an inner sun. Not as bright as our sun, but enough to give the land a permanent glow. A world of twilight, just like the Green Children described. Coincidence? Maybe, but let's go even deeper. Ancient cave systems and secret entrances. Even today, we're still discovering massive underground cave systems, places that have never seen the light of day. In Turkey, archaeologists uncovered Derinkuyu, an underground city large enough to house 20,000 people. And that's just one example. What if there were other hidden places, ones we haven't found yet? And what if, somewhere out there, a forgotten tunnel still leads to the land of St. Martin? Strange disappearances. Do people still vanish? Here's the scariest part. Even today, people go missing in ways that don't make sense. Hikers, travelers, even experienced explorers. Gone without a trace. No footprints, no signs of struggle. Just disappeared. Could they have wandered into something? Something like a portal? And if people are still vanishing, could some of them be appearing somewhere else? Just like the Green Children? The truth is, we don't know. But if these portals exist, someone, somewhere, might have already found one. The only question is, where does it lead? As we reach the end of the strange story of the Green Children of Woolpit, you might be wondering, what's the point of all this? Is this just a wild tale from medieval England? Or could there be something more to it? Let's step back for a second. Throughout history, humanity has always been fascinated by the unknown. We've looked up at the stars, explored the deepest oceans, and dug into the earth itself. But there are still so many questions we can't answer. And sometimes, when things don't fit into our usual way of thinking, we call them mysteries. The Green Children didn't just appear out of nowhere. They arrived with a story of a land where the sun never shone, of strange tunnels and a glowing world that no one else could find. They were different. They didn't belong. And they never fully explained how or why they came to Woolpit. But maybe that's the point. Maybe the story of the Green Children isn't about understanding the how. Maybe it's about understanding the why. Why do we still have stories of lost civilizations? Why do we keep hearing about strange disappearances, mysterious creatures, and places where the rules of the world don't seem to apply? Maybe, just maybe, there are things in this world that we can't explain. Things that we're not meant to explain. Perhaps the Green Children of Woolpit were simply the first chapter in a much bigger story. One that we're still trying to understand. And maybe, just maybe, some mysteries are better left unsolved. So, that's the strange, unexplained story of the Green Children of Woolpit. I hope you enjoyed this journey into the unknown. Who knows? Maybe someday we'll uncover more secrets, or maybe we'll just keep wondering about them. But for now, the mystery remains unsolved.